Hello, lovely people. Good evening. I hope you're well. Thank you very much for joining. Yeah. Thank you very much for joining, everybody. Oh, wow, it's suddenly jumped up to 170. Wow. I hope you're all well. Very nice to see you all. Hi, Atafa. I hope that you've all had a fantastic week so far, and hopefully it's going to get better. I don't know about where you are, but in Manchester it's been quite mild actually. It's been quite good. Hopefully it's not been too bad. Excuse me, where you are. Thank you very much. Thank you, that's very kind of you. So I hope you're well. How have you been finding my nightly stories? Nightly stories, that means a story every night. I hope you found them useful. I'm trying to fit in a little bit of English in the stories as well at night. Could you please speak slower? Sorry. Yes, I'll try to speak a bit slower if possible. Thank you very much. Lovely, lovely compliments. Thank you. Thank you. So I do try in the stories that I'm sending every night, I do try to inject a little bit of English. I want to make them a bit lighter, a bit more fun. I don't want them to be just English because that can get really boring, right? I want them to be a little bit fun. Thank you, everybody. But at the same time, I want to inject a bit of English as well. I don't want you to lose any opportunity. Still trying to teach English. Okay, lovely. No, we okay with normal speed English. Okay. Your stories are useful and practical. Lovely. Thank you very much. I'm very happy to hear that. Thank you, Bita. Lovely as always. Are you all right, sweetheart? I'm very well. Thank you very much. And thank you so much for asking. Lovely. Okay. So in one of the stories that I posted a few nights ago, thank you. Merry Christmas to you too. In one of the stories that I posted a few nights ago, I think there were quite a few messages that I got about the grammar that I'd used. I'm not sure exactly which story it was, but I'd used a type of grammar and I got so many messages from lovely, lovely people like yourselves asking Layla, what kind of grammar is this? To the point where I said, okay, we're going to talk about it in the live session and we're going to talk about it tonight. So that's what we're going to do tonight. So if you don't mind, because I don't want to get distracted, if that's okay, I want to make sure that we go through the lesson and we're not distracted. I'm going to give the lesson and then I'd love to hear from you to see if you can use it as well correctly, and then we'll come back to your fantastic lovely comments. Is that okay? Yeah, okay. Online class, I can see someone is saying she has online classes. I have no more online classes right now. I'm so sorry. Teaching now is just through my courses. I just want to clarify that before I turn the comments off. Okay, so turning the comments off, many, many apologies. Please don't go anywhere. We're just going to go through the grammar of what it is you were asking, and then we'll come back. Okay, so if I remember rightly, in one of my stories, I'd mentioned if we've already gone out shopping, by now we would have, finished everything, we would have done everything. So the grammar that I used, hopefully you can see, I've written it so that you can see it. This is the if past perfect. And then the second part of the sentence is would have and past participle. Now we know this is the formula for the third conditional, yeah? So if I had done my shopping, I would have been prepared now, basically. So it's the third conditional that we use. What I've done is I have taken the first part away. So I'm just going to put a line through it. I'm going to put a line through it. Put a line through it. And instead, I'm going to add this. By time in the future would have PP. That is the structure that I used. Okay. So by now, we would have finished our shopping. That is similar to the sentence that I used, okay? By any time that we're using, but it's going to have to be either now or the future, by a specific time, would have, and past participle. I'm going to give you a couple of sentences, a couple of examples for you to see what I'm talking about, okay? Let's say, for example, excuse me, let's say we wanted to go on holiday. We wanted to go on holiday. Our holiday was supposed to start yesterday, but something happened. For example, I got COVID, maybe the airline cancelled all the flights. Something happened and we couldn't go on holiday. We couldn't start the holiday, okay? I want to say, اگر رفته بودیم، اگه هالیدی انجام شده بود، الان داشتیم این کارو میکردیم. Okay? For example, by now we would have started the holiday. By now we would have started the holiday. If we had gone on holiday, by now we would have started the holiday. So we would have finished the flying, we would have checked into the hotel, and we would have started the holiday. Unfortunately, we didn't go on holiday because of COVID or cancellations or anything. But if we had gone on holiday, by now we would have started our holiday. By tomorrow, we would have, swam with the sharks. People go and swim with the sharks or swim with the dolphins, for example, if they're going to the Caribbean or anywhere like that. Yeah. By next week, we would have had a fantastic time. So by and a time would have and past participle. This is the structure that we're using. So it's a little bit, it's like taking a little bit of the third conditional, but we're not using the first part of the third conditional. We're using by and a time, and then just the second part of the formula of the third conditional. That's a mouthful, isn't it? That's a lot of words. This isn't something that I could have explained in a reel or in a story. I had to say it to you like this. Very long-winded, I'm sorry. Let's have a couple more examples. Excuse me. Let's say, for example, tomorrow I was supposed to have my driving test tomorrow, okay? But for some reason, the driving test got cancelled because maybe I don't have a car anymore. Maybe the centre has closed. Maybe they've cancelled my appointment. Something's happened, okay? I want to say if I had my test tomorrow, by tomorrow, I would have known if I had passed or not. By tomorrow, I would have known if I had passed or not. So the Farsi would be something like this. قرار بود امتحان رانندگی بدم فردا, okay? But it got cancelled. اگر امتحان رو داده بودم تا فردا میدونستم که آیا قبول شدم یا نه. So the action hasn't actually happened, and the action will not happen in this sentence. If it had happened, by tomorrow, I would have known if I had passed the test or not. I would have known if I can start driving or not. That's the structure. I've got one more example for you. Okay. Let's say I've had really, really bad toothache. For example, I've had agonizing pain. I'm going to write that down. Agonizing pain. Agonizing, it means it's really upsetting, extremely uncomfortable. pain, agonizing pain. So let's say I've got agonizing pain with my tooth, really, really bad toothache. And let's say, for example, I wanted to go to the dentist today, but as always with the NHS, the dental nurse phoned me and said, sorry, Layla, your appointment's been cancelled. The dentist isn't in today. We've postponed your appointment to tomorrow, to next week. Oh my goodness, I'm going to have to go through this agonizing pain till next week. This is where I say, by this time next week, yeah, so by this time next week, I would have been a different person. I wouldn't have been in agonizing pain. By this time next week, I would have been a completely different person. You know, someone who's got really, really bad toothache, they might be a bit grumpy, they might be a bit moody, obviously they'll be very quiet, they might find it difficult to eat and sleep, and they're a different person, aren't they? They're not their usual cheerful, bubbly self. They're a very, very different person. So because my dental appointment was cancelled, unfortunately, I'm saying if my appointment hadn't been cancelled, the first part, but I'm not going to say that. By this time next week, I would have been a completely different person if I had gone for my appointment today. But they cancelled my appointment today, didn't they? If they hadn't cancelled my appointment today, by this time next week, I would have been a completely different person. I wouldn't have been so moody anymore. I would have actually been very jolly, very happy. We even use the word gay. Gay in maybe 60, 70 years ago, it means happy. It doesn't mean the meaning that we have today. Gay means happy. It used to mean happy, now it has a different meaning. So you might have heard the word gay in lots of Christmas songs or lots of other songs. Let's be merry, let's be gay, which means let's be happy. It doesn't mean anything about gay and lesbian, that's a different meaning. So I would have been a very, very bubbly, very happy person if I had had the dental appointment today. Unfortunately, my dental appointment today had been cancelled, which means next week I will still be very, very moody. So this is the structure that I used in that story. If we had gone shopping, by now we would have finished all the shopping. We would have got everything that we need for the Christmas dinner. By now we would have been prepared. By now we would have relaxed, or we would have been relaxed. Okay, so that is the structure that I used in the story a few nights ago, just to let you know. So let's turn the cameras back, the comments back on. Hello again. Yes, so that's the structure that we used. I would like you to think about this structure, please, and I'll keep it in front of the camera. So I'm going to keep this structure here. Okay, hopefully you can see it. And I want you to think how you can use this. So remember, we're not using the first half of the third conditional. We're only using the second half of the third conditional. And we're using by and a specific time. Okay. Can you use this in any kind of sentences for yourselves? So something hasn't happened, or something has happened, or whatever, obviously third conditional, so past perfect, and then you're creating a sentence for me using by and time. I'm going to leave that up there to see if you can use it in a sentence as well. Okay. If I had had enough time, by this time I would have passed my exam. Okay, so right, so for example, I didn't study very hard, I didn't study very well. If I had studied, we're not going to say that, but that's part of the conditional. By now I would have passed my test. Yeah, by now I would have passed my test because I studied really hard. Lovely. By now, I would have been in London if I had immigrated like 2 years ago. Okay, so by now, I would have been in London. Yeah, I'm so sorry. If that's a true sentence, I'm sorry. Okay, by tomorrow, I would have finished my shopping for my trip. Lovely. So maybe you didn't go and do your shopping today. If I had done my shopping, by tomorrow I would have been completely prepared for my trip, for my holiday. Lovely. Okay. If I had slept by now, I would have felt better. Thank you, cutest baby. Okay. So by now I would have felt much better. Yeah. By now I would have felt much better. پس من درست نخوابیدم. اگه درست خوابیده بودم الان حالم خوب بود. We're using past tense because درست نخوابیدم. اون کار انجام نشد. اگر انجام شده بود الان اینجوری بودم. اگه انجام شده بود الان اینجوری میشد. So it's غیر واقعی basically. It's unreal because it didn't happen. Yeah. Lovely. By now, I would have been in Manchester. If I had written it down, I wouldn't have forgotten the date. Okay, if I had written it down, by now, for example, or by then, I wouldn't have forgotten the date. Lovely. I would have finished my banking. Okay. If I had packed my stuff yesterday, by now, I would have been in Paris. If I had moved to a new house, by next week, I would have been in Berlin. Lovely. By now, I would have slept. Yeah. By now, I would have washed the dishes. Okay. By now, I wouldn't have a throbbing headache. I'm so sorry. By end of December, the stadia would have been built. Lovely. By end of December. Yeah. If I had not missed the train, if I had not missed the train, I would have been in your party. By Christmas, I would have bought some gifts, but I didn't have time. Okay. By now, this agonizing headache would have subsided. Very good. Very good. Yeah. So it's something that didn't actually happen. Now, in the sentence that I used in the story, I said, so if we have done our shopping, or if we had done our shopping by now, we would have got everything. We would have been prepared. Yes. By next week, I would have gone my project if my colleagues participated in time. Okay. If I had bought a ticket by tomorrow, I would have gone to the theatre. Very good, Parastu. So that means, unfortunately, you missed out on good tickets. I'm sorry. By now, I would have been hungry if I hadn't eaten my my sister's food. Lovely. By now, I would have finished the end of term reports. I would have been fortunate enough to invite you for some delicious food. That would be lovely. If I'd worked on my dissertation, by now I would have finished it. Yeah. By now. Very good. If I had had more money by next week, I would have bought a car. Very good. Very good. If I had forgotten your live, by now I would have known what you said. If I hadn't forgotten your life, yeah. By next week, I would have got my visa. Very good. So I can see a lot of you are using by, and then you're using a time in the future, or you're using now, by now. Ta al-an, ta hafte ayande. Very good, very good. If I had gone to the gym, by now, I wouldn't have been so fat. Okay. Life is too short. Please don't let other people judge you. Excuse me. What's the difference between this and will have? But okay. So the difference is, this is part of the formula for third conditional, which means usually something hasn't happened in the past perfect. If it had happened, then the result would have happened as well. By now, I wouldn't have learnt this structure if I had missed this live. Okay, lovely. Beautiful hairstyle, thank you. I wouldn't have been in Manchester. By now, I would have bought my Christmas cards. Okay. If I had bought your course earlier, by now, I would have been speaking better. Okay. If I had studied English consistently, by now I would have been speaking fluently. I would have been speaking more fluently. If I'd spent enough time for studying English, by now I would have spoken more fluently. Sure. A lot of you, by the beginning of the new year, the war would have been stopped. I wish. Honestly, I wish. But a lot of you are using the correct grammar. A lot of you are using would have been or would have past participle. You're using the by and the time correctly. Very good. Very good. I would have been a professional artist if I hadn't wasted my time. We missed an action. Is that correct? Yes. So the first part of the sentence hasn't happened. Yeah. Because that hasn't happened, then whatever. Mass, by now I would have knuckled down on my studies. Very good. If electricity hadn't been invented, the world would have been different. Yeah. Very good. Thank you, Sogol. Very kind of you. By the time we arrived, she would have already completed the project. Yes. Okay, what's this? من کار هنریم رو به همکارم نشون دادم. گفت in years داشت تعریف میکرد فکر کنم. گفت in years. چند بار گفت. میتونم بپرسم یعنی چی؟ منم هی گفتم yeah. Okay. I haven't seen, it's like I haven't seen it in years. In years, it means something like in ages. It means for a long time. I haven't seen something like this in years. It means for many, many years. I haven't seen anything like this. So it's a kind of compliment when you must have done something, you must have created something really nice, and they can't stop complimenting you. That's, I think, what it was. If I had your address by now, I would have sent a Christmas card for you. That's very kind of you, very kind. I'm not going to be home over Christmas, but that was very kind of you. So, میشه یه توضیح کوچیک از درس امشب بگین؟ Absolutely. Thank you for asking. So, in a story a few nights ago, I mentioned a sentence and I said, by now we would have finished our Christmas shopping for the Christmas dinner. By now we would have finished. That means if we had gone to do our shopping, by now we would have finished. So we're basically borrowing the second part of the third conditional. The third conditional says we have if plus past perfect for the first part, and then in the second part of the sentence we have would have and past participle, or would and present perfect. But what we're doing here is we're taking away the first part of the sentence, and instead we're adding by and a specific time in the future. So by any time in the future, would have and past participle, and that's what everybody is doing. Okay, that's what everybody is doing with their lovely sentences. Yeah. Where do you live? I live in the UK. I live in Manchester in England. If I had tried more, by now I would have had 2 children. Okay. If I had had an umbrella with me, by now I wouldn't have got stuck in the downpour. Yes. Okay, so just a few little tweaks there with your sentence. I would have saved £200 if I hadn't gone to Costco today. Really? Oh my goodness. So you did a big shopping at Costco, I'm guessing. Costco, honestly, they are genius. They really are genius. If you live in the UK, I strongly suggest you watch, I think it's on Netflix, and you might be able to access Netflix in Iran. I don't know. There are a few people I've spoken to and they watch Netflix in Iran as well. So if you can get Netflix, I definitely suggest you watch it. It's a documentary. And the documentary on Netflix, one is about Greggs, which is about pastries and sandwiches and stuff. And one is about Costco. It's an interesting documentary. And about Costco, it tells you about the way they think, the way they plan, the layout of the shop. That you go in to Costco. This has happened to me many a time. That means many times. Many a time. I've had my list. Okay, I've got my shopping list. And I go into Costco thinking, Layla, you're just going to get these things and then you're going to come out. You're not buying anything else, Layla. I promise myself. I go into Costco and I close my eyes to all the lovely gadgets and all the digital stuff that they have at the beginning of the shop. At the front of the shop, sorry, not the beginning, at the front of the shop. You go inside, but unfortunately, as you're passing some of the aisles, you see some things that you think, actually, yeah, I need that. It's not on my list, but I do need, for example, some socks. Yeah, I do actually need a new toothbrush. Mine is maybe 1 or 2 months old. I do need a new toothbrush. Actually, yeah, I do need a new hairbrush, you know. Or yeah, I could do with, for example, I don't know, a new frying pan, maybe. 1 isn't enough, 2 would be much better. And the way they put everything out in Costco, it's just random things, but you see it and you think, yeah, actually I do need that. And you pick it up and put it in your trolley. This is what a lot of people do. And so they go in with the thought that I'm just going to spend, for example, 30, 40 pounds. That's all. I don't need anything else. They come out, like our friend, having spent 200, 300 plus pounds. And that's because Costco, they really do. Firstly, they sell everything in bulk. So you think instead of just buying 1 ketchup, for example, £3, if I spend £5, I get 3 bottles of ketchup. Yeah, it makes sense. So people buy 3 bottles of ketchup for £2 extra. The money really makes sense. But nobody stops and thinks, do I need 3 bottles of ketchup? I don't need 3 bottles of ketchup, but because we think we're saving and the money makes sense, people go to Costco and buy. So the £200 is easily done by anybody. It's a really interesting documentary. If you can get Netflix, I highly recommend you watch it. It's very interesting. Would you please save this live? Yes, definitely. Bad shopping habits. Absolutely, definitely. I have had start to learn English by now. If I had started learning English I would have learned English perfectly. Very good. I'm new. What days do you have your live? Sundays. I have my live on Sundays at 7 o'clock UK time, which currently I believe is 10:30 in Iran. Sorry, that's my timer, and that's 7:30 on the dot. رأس الساعت. It's 7:30 on the dot. رأس الساعت هفتني. I'm not going to keep you waiting any longer. There's just one thing I wanted to add. Next Sunday is Christmas Eve, so I will not be doing a live. The Sunday after is New Year's Eve. Again, I will not be doing a live, I'm afraid. For the 7th of January, that's when I will see you again. It's still in the middle of the holiday season, but I will do a live on the 7th of January. January, not January, January. 3 syllables, yeah? January. So next Sunday, 24th, and the Sunday after, 31st. I apologize, I will not be doing a live, but the following Sunday, 7th of January, I will be here with all of you. During that time, obviously during the week, I'll still try and stay as active as I can. You might see a few of my reels will not be like my usual things. It'll be on the motorway maybe, or I don't know, with a bit of background noise. I do apologize, but I'll still try and keep my reels and stories going as much as possible. Okay. Excuse me. استاد گفت دوره داره. Yes, there are 2 courses that I am running now. They've both started. One is the grammar course, which if you want to join, we've already done, I think, 9 lessons by now. So if you want to join the grammar course, we've done almost half of the course. So it might be a bit late. It depends if you still want to join. So the grammar course is Grammar 1. It's 21 lessons in total. The students study the lessons themselves during the week, and then every Sunday at 5 o'clock UK time, they come online and we have a session together for the grammar. I also have, for much advanced students, I have a listening course, which just trains you to get to know different accents, different British accents. The listening course is for 7 weeks. We've already done 2 of those 7 weeks. Again, the students study the lessons at home by themselves. Every Friday, we get together on Skype and we have the lesson. And with the listening course, I play the video, we listen to it together, then we go back and I keep pausing and I explain maybe about the culture, the pronunciation, the idiom, the meaning, why we say this, how we say this, what does it mean, situations, that kind of thing. But the listening course is for more advanced students, okay? And all of this is on my website. What's this? Sorry, somebody said something. When is your new course will be starting for grammar? So I'm not sure at the moment. I am thinking of starting an advanced grammar course soon, but not straight away. And I will be having a sale on my website again for the new year. Okay, so I will be having a sale on my website again. It's not going to be as big as the one before, but still it will involve some kind of discount for the new year. And I will give you more information on that on the 7th of January when I see you again on the live session. Okay, advanced grammar, sure, we'll try. Okay, we need to finish the first grammar to make sure everybody is happy and comfortable with all the conditionals, the passives, the tenses, all of these. Then we can go on to advanced, because advanced is where we play with the conditionals. Yeah, first part of the sentence, for example, is second conditional. Second part of the sentence is third conditional. This is called mixed conditionals. But before we can mix the conditionals, the students need to know the conditionals, the basic conditionals first. In advanced grammar, we learn more advanced ways of making passive voice. In the first grammar lesson, it's quite simple. In advanced grammar lesson, students learn more advanced ways of making the passive. So they need to learn grammar 1 before they can go to advanced. Have a cracking Christmas and a fantastic New Year, as Bita says. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a very good Christmas, a great New Year, you and yours. I will be posting my story for tonight very soon. I'm sorry it got so late. Do stay safe. If you celebrate Christmas, Merry Christmas to you. Happy New Year. If you don't celebrate Christmas, do stay safe. And I will see you again in 2 weeks' time. Thank you very much. Good night, everybody.